I still get nervous, and I get very nervous, and I get nervous almost every time. So when I'm doing even my own conference in London, and there's a crowd of 300, 400, 500 people, they're all here for me and my team. So we've got a great group, great crowd. I'm still really nervous. Backstage, no one's allowed to talk to me. I tell Pete and my team, I'm like, look, when I'm about to go on stage, the 15 minutes before, don't talk to me. I don't want anything else in my head other than I'm just thinking about what are the first things I'm going to say to get the wheels moving in the presentation, and then I will start to feel more comfortable. I still get very nervous. I just get better at hiding it.
Hey, my name is Lisa Hugo, and I'm obsessed with helping other people find and develop their voices so they can go out and take on the world, be seen as an authority, expert, and speak their truth with utmost confidence because they know that what they have to share will connect with their audience and make a difference. I studied performing arts and spent 20 years of my career traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. I teach you the secrets to speak up and be heard, overcome your fears, to build your speaking skills, and learn how you can use your skills to make a change both in your own life and the lives of others. This is your one-stop shop for all things confident speaking. This is Impact Through Voice. Well, a very warm welcome back to another episode of Impact Through Voice. I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and today I'm in the UK and I have a very special guest with me. He's an 8-figure entrepreneur, multi-8-figure business owner, and he's somebody who's built his business using his voice to really scale that business model, but not only build his business, but also to impact the lives of others by helping them to do the same. So let's welcome Jon Penberthy.
Hello, thank you very much. Pleased to be here.
So glad that we can have this opportunity to sit down and have a nice chat. It's a rare opportunity, and I know that you're very, very busy and you've had to juggle your schedule. So thanks again for taking the time.
Absolutely. Very happy to do it.
So I've known you for many years, but my listeners obviously don't know who you are, or probably don't know who you are. So why don't you start by just giving us a little intro into who is Jon Penberthy?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, nice to meet you all. And, I live here in Canterbury in the UK, and I have a marketing education company, and it's evolved over time. It started with selling little online courses, and we've moved up to really focusing on our high-ticket coaching clients, as Lisa is one of them. In fact, the way we met was at an event, wasn't it? When I was speaking at an event in Dubai.
Yeah.
And you were there in the crowd, and we got connected there, and here we are. So yeah, everything I do is all things marketing.
Yeah, and I want to, now you've mentioned that, give a little bit of a backstory on how we met there. So I was at a stage in my business where I needed to find another solution. Wasn't that I didn't have enough clients. I had too many clients, and I was working a crazy 6-day week, every hour back to back in one-on-one coaching. And it was a model that I just couldn't scale. I wasn't earning enough. And so this event popped up in Dubai, and there were some interesting speakers on the lineup. And so I dragged my husband along to this event. And we came out of that event having spent the equivalent of probably a brand new car, a small brand new car in investing in coaching. Yep. And one of those coaches obviously was you. And of all of the ones I signed up for, yours has given me the biggest return on investment over the course of now, let's say we're coming on 4 years since then.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm very grateful to you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been really, really exciting to see your journey in that. And of course, there's reciprocation here as well, because we have our marketing conference here in London that we run each year, and we had Lisa come and speak at that event, and you absolutely nailed it and the audience loved it. So we appreciate what you've done for us too.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there we go. Mutual Admiration Society. You didn't always do marketing. Take us back to how it all started for you.
Great question. I'm not sure how much time we have, because I could go into 2 hours on my backstory. I'll give you the whistle-stop tour. Back at school, just didn't get on very well with the education system, couldn't concentrate. I just wanted to be busy and do something and create stuff. And as I'm sure your listeners are aware, and as are you, that's not really what school's built for. You're supposed to sit down, pay attention, do what you're told, speak when you're spoken to. So I was always causing trouble, didn't really concentrate, left school with no qualifications whatsoever. Progressed into, well, what do I want to do next? What is going to be the career path? And I remember seeing this world of entrepreneurship and not fully understanding it, but but being really attracted by it. This idea that you could create your own income and create your own, well, I don't want to say job. Back then it was like, oh, you can create your own job. You know, that's really not the goal. You don't want to be working in the business. You want to have a business that's working for you. But that was the draw. And so I remember thinking, well, I'll go into chefing. I'll go into catering, and maybe there'll be a path there to open up a restaurant or something like that. Little did I know that that is a terrible idea.
Tough industry.
and something that I very swiftly got off the idea. You know, the 17-year-old kid trying to go to the bank for a £150,000 loan for a restaurant. Don't quite know how well that would have gone and how profitable it would even be. But while I was on a catering course for that 3 years, the evenings, the weekends, any spare moment, it was a Google search of how do I make money online? How do I start a business?
Okay.
And as I was going through that path, it all kicked off with something called affiliate marketing, which your audience may be familiar with, where someone else has a product, and if you can drive some traffic to that product, then you'll get a commission. And so I got really, knee deep into that world of trying to figure out how I can just drive traffic. And I got pretty good at it. I got to a point where I was making some really, really good money as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, to the point where I thought maybe someone else online would want to know what I've learned about driving traffic. Mm-hmm. Maybe that would benefit someone else. So then I got into the world of education. I thought, well, I'm making some great money with affiliate marketing, driving traffic. Maybe I could create my own course teaching people how I drive traffic. Long story short, that course exploded. We did $1 million in sales over the course of the next couple of years. And everything's just snowballed from there. I found a love for education, a love for teaching. And obviously that's why you've got me here on this podcast, because it all points back to the way we communicate, using our voice on video. And here we are today.
Mm. So you have a very specific business model that you teach.
Yes.
It's not just general marketing, but you have a very solid approach. So why don't you share a little bit about that, and also then how communication skills then connect into that model?
Yeah, very good. So what we focus on teaching our clients is a process that combines video advertisements. So that might be on YouTube, it might be on Facebook, Instagram. By the time you're watching this, I'm sure there's a bunch of other platforms that have emerged. But the idea is that we use video as the front end piece that attracts a prospect, because you can connect with more stuff. It's not just text, it's not just a headline. They can see you, they can hear you, they can hear the passion in your voice for your topic. And so teach our clients to use that as a medium to go out there and attract new people. And then the sales funnel that we bring them into is a webinar. And it's an online presentation where you attract these new leads that might be interested in your business, and you invite them to watch a presentation. Not to just read an article, not to watch even just a video embedded on a page, because people don't really pay attention to that stuff. Whereas if you can get them in a captive environment, like on a Zoom room or something similar, they're there, they're paying attention, distractions are limited, and now they're just listening to you and perhaps watching your slides as you're taking them through that. And we just find that gets us the best results. And when I say best results, that's kind of subjective. So when I say best results, we're looking for highest quality prospects that we're speaking to for the cheapest price. So we've got our advertising costs, and we want to get as many people through as we can, but we also need to make sure they're qualified by the time we perhaps speak to them on the phone about our products and services. And we find webinars does that the best.
Mm. And that's what this time with you will do, that by the end of that webinar, they've either dropped off, and that's a good thing, because
Yes.
they're not going to be your ideal customer. And when they get all the way through and they take that next step, then you've already pre-qualified them to a certain level.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. It's been hugely beneficial for me in my business.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you see some people who don't succeed with this model. And I remember you saying to me once, it's those who can communicate well and have a good confidence on camera are the ones that are going to be successful, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably said a rendition of that, many times. And yeah, it's true. And to kind of, to your point of, well, maybe not everyone succeeds with this model. Why would that be? We actually had a conversation behind closed doors once where I was honest with you. And I said, look, some of our clients they don't have it. And what do we define as it? Well, in the form of a webinar, it's just they don't have that charisma, they don't have that way of communicating that can actually engage an audience. Because you could have the best training on webinars, you could have a done-for-you slide deck that looks beautiful and everything's great. But if you open, particularly in the intro, if you open that webinar in a way where you sound really boring, it's just dull, it's all flat, and you're not engaging them in any way, people are going to drop off. And they're not going to drop off for the right reasons. Because as you mentioned, we want people to drop off because they're disqualified, but they're dropping off now because they just don't really enjoy the presentation. So the people that haven't succeeded with it, it usually points to they just can't communicate very well.
But they're probably nervous as well. I mean, when people come in and that light starts to flash and you've got countdown, okay, we're on, that can be a nerve-wracking experience. But it's a skill you can learn, right?
Yes,
You would
absolutely.
agree with that?
Absolutely. The first ever, going even much earlier on than webinars, the first video that I remember recording was in my parents' house, in my bedroom when I was still living with them. I must have been 17 at the time. I bought this little tripod for not even a phone at that point, because there was no video phones at that point. I was using something called a Kodak ZI8. I don't know if you remember that camera. No. Really old thing with a USB thing that would flip out the bottom. And I got a tripod for it, 3 little legs, and I put it on the floor. And so I had, we all know that's a terrible angle to shoot a video from.
Angle.
Pete behind the camera shaking his head. I literally put it on the floor. It's coming up at
your
me.
nose.
I've got Legos and stuff on the back of my wardrobe. I just didn't think about tidying up my room. It's dark. The lighting's awful. And I remember just being the most uncharismatic person in that video. I was promoting, get this, an anti-snoring device. that was the affiliate product that I had chosen. And I remember pressing record on the video. I just said, if you're looking to stop snoring, then just get this product, okay? Just click the link and just go over there and buy it, right? And then I went and stopped it. So that's how I started. That was where the journey...
And you made money with that?
No, I did not with that one. But to your point of it's a learned skill, it's this whole thing of if you just get started, if that was my first attempt, my second attempt has a good chance of being just slightly better. And then my third attempt has a good chance of being just slightly better. We have a mutual friend, Summer, one of my clients and in the mastermind that you're in. She said something once that really stuck with me, and I recite it all the time. She said, if you know your first attempt is going to suck, just get it out the way as quickly as possible.
That's so good.
And I really like that.
Yeah.
So yes, it can be a learned skill for sure.
Yeah, and that's so good. So many people, they'll wait until they're perfect before they then go and do something. But when are we ever perfect?
Yes.
Never.
Yeah.
So you'll be waiting for an eternity. You've got to get started.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that repetition builds on your skill. If you even just take a break which I've done, and you take a break for 6 months and you haven't done a live webinar, you haven't put yourself on camera, it feels uncomfortable again. Yeah. You've got to keep it consistent. Yes. It's a skill you need to build all the time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I agree.
I want to go back to YouTube. Or you were talking about all the different social platforms where you put your, you start with your video to capture your audience.
Yes.
But YouTube has been a very strong one for you. Talk about why that is.
It's been, I'll talk about why it started as being a strong one, then perhaps why it's strong now, because the answer will be slightly different. The reason it started as a strong traffic source for us was because we got on when it was new and it was a bit early stage and not everyone was moving over to it. Facebook was the big platform at the time when I really jumped onto it. And Facebook primarily is text-based, image-based, and that's the type of advertisements that people would be running on there, particularly back then. I don't know if you remember, there was a time where Facebook didn't even have video on it. I actually remember that day. I remember when video was announced on Facebook and it was this big deal because it never was a video platform. And so I think it's a more comfortable platform for people to run ads on because they don't have to be on video. Introducing the reason why it works so well for us on YouTube. Because when I moved over to YouTube, other people were scared to do so. They didn't want to be on camera. They didn't want to do videos. It was more effort. It was just more difficult. There's more skills to learn. So people are staying in the safety of Facebook, and I'm over here on YouTube, and Facebook's getting crowded, and YouTube was a wide open blue ocean. So back in the beginning, it was just because I got on there a bit earlier than everyone else. The second part to my answer is the boring part. The reason why it works so well for us now is just because that's just what we've stuck with, and it just now just works for us very, very well. We advertise on other platforms, but YouTube currently still gets probably 85% of our advertising spend every month.
But it's also a search engine.
Yes.
So people can actively search for something,
Yeah.
and then you're going to pop up because they have an interest in that, which is quite different to some other social platforms, which is just scroll-based. And, if you can capture the attention of somebody, then that's great, which is, again, the importance of being out there and being able to captivate people even more so on those other platforms, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually a very, very good point. You know, Facebook, you know, I explain it like this on our boot camps and things. You know, if you've got someone, I don't know, they're waiting for a friend outside a coffee shop on the high street, right? And they're just trying to kill time. They're doing that thing where they get their phone out and pretend they're looking at something just so they don't feel awkward standing there with their hands in their pockets. But if they whip their phone out to just pretend they're killing time, they're going to probably open Facebook and just scroll, or Instagram and scroll. You're probably not going to get out YouTube, open up that app, search for a video, get into a topic. It's just a different type of platform. When you go onto YouTube, you're usually situated somewhere, perhaps on your laptop, maybe on your phone. You're probably hooked up to Wi-Fi. You are intending on having a session on YouTube, not a quick scroll back in the pocket. So even just, you know, the nature of the platform itself being an educational platform, not so much a social networking platform, that points to, you know, you're getting in front of people when they're in the right headspace to receive an offer, to, you know, for a solution to a problem that they might have.
Yeah. I haven't thought about it that way, that those who are on YouTube are really actively sitting down for a session as opposed to the scrolling. So to be on more than one platform is then important if you're going to reach a wider market.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about this in the last couple of days, right? Just this need now to diversify. You know, maybe don't just double down on one platform only, because, you know, heaven forbid your ad account gets shut down, or, you know, something stops working, then you've got to reboot the business. But if we can start to put some insurance policies in place and be on other platforms, I think it's good to protect your business, but also so you're covering all bases. Like you said, you get people when they're on YouTube, and why don't we also run some ads on Facebook and, you know, get them with a different type of creative, but something that just re-engages them perhaps when they're doing that little scrolling session.
I want to go back to when I saw you on stage the very first time back in 2020. So I would say when I saw you the first time, you appeared a bit nervous. It was a big audience, more than 2,000 people in that room. You've progressed a lot since then, because I've seen you on stage, and now when I see you on stage, you look very comfortable, very relaxed. Have you done something to improve your own skills? Have you worked on yourself? Is it just through repetition like we were talking about and self-analyzing, or have you put some time and effort into developing the skills?
Well, it's two things. The first is just repetition. You know, the more you do something, the more comfortable you get. That's definitely true for me. You know, the more I'm on a stage or in front of an audience, the more comfortable I get. Actually, there's three answers. So that's the first. The second answer is being confident in the topic. I've actually found that really helps me, to be honest.
It's very important.
Yeah, let's say I've rushed a presentation and I've just got it done in time, and I've kind of rehearsed my slides and presentation, but I'm not 100% on it, then I'm going to be nervous on that stage because I didn't get comfortable with it. Whereas I would feel right now, I think I could confidently say this, you could put me in front of an audience of, you know, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and get me talking for 20 minutes about webinars, and I'll be absolutely fine. You could give me 5 minutes notice, and I genuinely think I would be absolutely fine. Because, you know, once you know your topic and you're really comfortable with it, then that's, you know, a big chunk of the battle won. The third thing I think might surprise you. I still get nervous, and I get very nervous, and I get nervous almost every time. So when I'm doing even my own conference in London, and there's a crowd of 300, 400, 500 people, they're all here for me and my team. So we've got a great group, great crowd. I'm still really nervous. Backstage, no one's allowed to talk to me. I tell Pete and my team, I'm like, look, when I'm about to go on stage, the 15 minutes before, don't talk to me. I don't want anything else in my head other than I'm just thinking about what are the first things I'm going to say to get the wheels moving in the presentation, and then I will start to feel more comfortable. I still get very nervous. I just get better at hiding it.
Okay. Is there anything that you do to get yourself in the zone before, other than just give me space?
Yeah, I do some breathing exercises. So I just want to slow down my breathing. I want to oxygenate my body. So that's something that I'll do while I'm backstage. I pace a little bit. I just move. I get stiff legs, and that won't help me on stage. So I just get my body moving just a little bit. And then the thing that helps me the most is genuinely just going over and over and over again what my first few things are that I'm going to say. Because I actually don't have a very good memory. And so if I can get myself in a zone to where I know what my introduction on stage is going to be before I get into slides. Because as soon as I've got slides, I'm comfortable, right? If I know what my slides are going to be and I know what's coming next, and that's all well and good. But it's that first 2 to 3 minutes. You step on stage, what's the very first thing out my mouth? Where was I intending on going next with what I was going to say? And there's probably 1 or 2 more things that I actually just have to go on there and remember that I'm supposed to say. So I just go over that again and again and again and again and again. And then once I'm happy with that, go on stage, deliver that first bit into slides. Now I'm comfortable.
Okay. So you've got the beauty of slides. If you didn't have slides, how would you be?
I would need a whiteboard because they're like a doodle. I've got, because again, I'm just, there's certain topics I would speak on. I've got my illustrations and my breakdowns and things. If I had a whiteboard, I'd also be very comfortable, but I'd have to just remind myself again and again and again backstage what were the key points I wanted to get through. In fact, you might not have noticed, but that was one of my presentations at AdCon recently. I don't know if you remember the particular one where I didn't have any slides and I was on there for about 90 minutes and I was just doodling on the whiteboard. That was because I didn't have enough time to prepare and I didn't have enough slides. And so I just made a bullet list of things I wanted to teach and I just forced myself to remember this. And then I just went up on stage and for 90 minutes I'm comfortable just doodling. So give me a whiteboard, that's what I would ask for.
Well, if you think about the webinar presentation, the template that we have to go through, it's quite structured and that can help somebody to really remember where they need to be.
Yeah.
So you've got your 4 training points, you've got your intro, you've got your testimonials or your proof of experience, and then you've got your outro at the end. So if you think about that, if you chunk your content, it makes it much easier to remember.
Yes. And you do the same thing then. In your presentations, there would be, if you didn't have a whiteboard or slides, in your head you're thinking about a chunked presentation.
Yeah. And that means you've got stories that you can intertwine. You could throw one out. Oh, I'm running a bit short on time. I need to put that one out and just move straight on. And that's the, I guess the skill of being a very good presenter, that you can just very quickly manipulate your presentation accordingly.
Yeah. You have to almost... You need to almost be thinking about the next thing you're going to say while you're currently talking about what you're talking about. My team find that some on the team find it fascinating that happens. Like I'll be doing a presentation and I kind of already know the slide that's coming next, and in the back of my mind I'm preparing where I'm going with this story. I already know the next thing I'm going to say while I'm currently talking about the thing at the moment.
I remember that being something that you taught very, very early on when I first started working with you, is when you've got your slides, you need to know what the next slide is and be ready to talk about it before you switch to it, because you don't want this lag of time. You need to keep it moving. And I remember that as a very strong, important point, which I share now with my clients.
That's exactly right. You'll do it on stage, I'll do it on webinars. It's awkward if it's not done. And just so your audience know what we're talking about a webinar presentation where someone's reading off a slide basically, and you can kind of tell they're reading off a slide, and then they finished on that slide, they click with the clicker, next slide pops up, that reminds them of what they're about to say, and then they start talking again. But there's that weird 1 to 2 seconds of dead time, and it just feels weird, it feels awkward. So what we're referring to here is if you get to know your slide deck so well, or no slides, you just get to know your presentation so well, you can start to flow straight into the next piece without that weird pause and without that weird break. So if I've got my current slide I'm talking about, I kind of already know the next one that's coming, and I will start to talk about the next one before I even click. And it shows the audience how confident you are in your topic too. And they pick up on that. Very
true. Yeah. So let's go back to AdCon. This is an event that you put on every year, and I think this year was the first rebrand of the name AdCon. But you bring in a lot of speakers over the course of 3 days. What is it that you look for in a speaker?
Yeah, I think my answer will probably surprise you, because we're not necessarily looking for a well-polished speaker that knows how to engage a room from front to back. It's different. For us, it's a marketing conference, and we want to make sure that we're bringing people in that are going to be able to serve our audience well with the education and the knowledge. But of course, we hope that they have something of a stage presence as well. So we had quite a mixture at AdCon. You know, we've got people like you that obviously have been doing this a very long time. You know how to engage an audience and communicate well. We had Devon Brown, as I know is a friend of yours. I think he's been on the podcast with you.
He has already, yeah.
So he was speaking at AdCon, and he's incredible. And then we've got other people that are just clients of ours, right? Clients of ours that aren't speakers, perhaps have never been on a stage before. You know, like people like Fez, people like Phil. They've not been on a stage like that before, talking about marketing. So they're probably quite nervous. They've just not done this before. But what they had to share was super valuable. So yes, I can give them some pointers backstage. They can do a bit of research on how they can, conduct their presentation, and I was there to support them. But ultimately, we had some people up there that weren't phenomenal speakers, but the crowd still loved them because of the topic that they had. And I think that probably points to, because we talked about communication skills and someone being so flat that it's awful. I wouldn't have someone up there that was that bad. You know what I mean? There's no client testimonial that's good enough that we could have someone up there that is dead flat with hands in pockets, not pacing the stage at all, and killing the vibe. So they've got to have some kind of charisma, but it points to more of the other side, which is the passion. You might not know everything about how to communicate properly, but if you've got passion for your topic, that often comes out in good communication.
Yeah, and they were epic, your testimonials that you had. I want to move on to investing in yourself. Now, I'm sure you have invested a lot into your own personal development. What would you say was the most valuable, with the best return on investment?
Interesting. There isn't. I mean, well, I invest a lot in my education, not just me personally, but now with my team. There's coaching programs and mentorships that I'll even put my team through. So there's investing for the whole company as well. We spend a lot, tens of thousands every year, easily. Is there one that really stands out? I must admit, not necessarily. There isn't one that I feel like that was like a key mentorship experience that exploded everything, because it's just at different stages we need different things, and so we've got a new problem, and we'll go and see if we can find someone that can help with that. And we might get some tips, we might get some help. Like for example, on the sales side, we're building a sales team, and so we needed some structure there. Find a coach, find a mentor, and it wasn't epic, but we got a few tips, and so it was still an ROI on that investment. And I think that's probably been quite similar, to be honest. There hasn't been any standout coaching experiences that have been like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But we're still getting a positive ROI. If I spent 20 grand on a coach, even if the only thing I got from that experience is a spreadsheet of how to track certain things for that particular, it might have still been a positive ROI. So I'm always looking at it like that. I think being in the coaching space myself, you can often have clients that join, and it's like there's no responsibility for their own business. They come on in, and because they spent 10 grand on some marketing training, that now they get to just sit back with their hands in their lap, and you're going to do it all for them. And it's not quite like that. But I know that from my own experience. If I'm going to invest in someone else, I'm going to take extreme ownership over that situation, and I'm going to try to get as much out of it as I can, and squeeze it for a positive ROI.
Yeah, that's so important, because as you say, people come in and they expect things to just happen, but nothing happens unless you put the effort in yourself. It has to come from both sides, and that doesn't always, it's not in the right mindset of some people. Yeah. I want to talk about how technology has changed. I mean, it's dramatically changed, and it's going so fast.
Yes.
But in the space of being online and being on camera and having webinars, how have you seen that technology has impacted the ability for people to be able to put their voice out there and be seen and be heard more?
Well, I think tremendously. You've only got to look at these things we have in our pocket, right? I mentioned my little Kodak ZI8 camera, and that was how I got started, and that was too big to carry around in your pocket. So now we've got iPhones. If you know what's good for you, you'd have an iPhone, and that's a little dig at Pete behind the camera there. And we can just whip out our phone, hit record, and in really high quality with good audio, and we can get a video out there. So it doesn't take much now. I look at Zoom, and I think about what the pandemic did for Zoom. Like before that, it was already a big platform. We were using it a lot, but the whole world now knows what Zoom is. I mean, that was how we communicated with our loved ones during that period of time. So now people are very comfortable with the idea of jumping into a Zoom room. So us as presenters and educators and coaches, it's even easier for us to invite people to an online presentation because they're used to the tech that would allow them to come along. And then you've got the whole world of AI, which that's a rabbit hole we probably don't want to go down in today. But
not today.
But that's a big evolution in this world, and that's moving fast. In fact, kind of scary, to be honest. The things that you can do with that. There's some exciting parts of it where we can be editing our videos and making that smoother and easier and quicker. But there's other parts to it where, who knows, in 6 months' time, there might be a Lisa Hugo video that you never even recorded.
Exactly. That's
so we're going to have to figure out how to police this at the same time. It's growing so fast.
Yeah. But talking about Zoom, I'll just share a little story because prior to the pandemic, prior to 2020, in the Middle East, where we are, in Dubai, there were no platforms available for anybody to go online and do even voice over IP, let alone a Zoom room. It just wasn't. Skype was banned, Zoom was banned, everything was banned. And it was only through the pandemic that some of these platforms opened up. We still can't use a lot of them, but some of them opened up. And that just changed small businesses. It changed the opportunities for small businesses to go further and go beyond the boundaries of the Middle East. And so it was really transformational.
Yeah, it was. It was a big deal.
Yeah. Even my mother is on Zoom doing her church services and Bible studies on Zoom at the age of 82. I thought that was pretty amazing.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's cool.
I want to talk a little bit about routines. As an entrepreneur, I think people get a bit fascinated because there's some entrepreneurs out there who say you've got to be up at 5:30 in the morning and you've got to do this and get this out of the way and journal. And so I'm curious to know, especially now you've become a father in the last year.
Yes.
What's your routine? Do you have a specific routine that you follow, things that you need to do to be productive?
Well, as you say, now I'm a father. Phoebe, my daughter, controls my morning routine.
I'm sure.
she now gets me up when she gets up. I've had to force myself to be an early bird now because of that. I never used to be. It's funny because this idea of a morning routine and sticking to it and doing the same thing every day for years into the future, I've never quite aligned with that. Not because I think it's bad. It just doesn't really fit with me. I go through different seasons, There's seasons of my life where I just find that I function and work better late at night. So I've gone through those seasons where it's like I'm gonna smash out some of my best work late in the evening, which means I'm not gonna then get up at 5 in the morning if I'm working till 2. But then there's other periods of my life where it's actually been quite nice to get early nights and get up really early and really enjoy the mornings. So in terms of when I get up, this whole kind of make it 4 a.m. every morning or you can't be successful, well, that's stupid because you can be successful without having to get up at 4 in the morning. But in terms of specific things in the morning, I mean, look, the only thing that is a constant for me is I get up, I have a moment of prayer. For people that aren't perhaps, have a faith or something like that, then that would be the equivalent of just feeling grateful in the morning, spending some time. It's just my gratitude goes towards God. And then I read the Word. I read the Bible, and that sets up my day just right. And then I head off for work. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's not really much more to my morning routine. It could probably improve, but that's as it is at the moment.
I remember once you sharing, about keeping on point when you have a task that you need to accomplish, how you put a stopwatch beside you so that you don't drift off. Because I'm somebody who I get very distracted and I'll have tabs open and I'll jump from this to this to this. And I started using an accountability planner, which I find really helpful, that you can only set a certain amount of time for things, and that really helps to make a difference moving forward
Yeah.
to achieve things.
That's right, and I still do that. So I have my timer out next to me, and when I've got my daily to-do list, and I kind of allocate an amount of time that each of those tasks should take. So I'm kind of projecting how long that task should take, and then when I move on to that one, I set the timer for that amount. So I know that if I'm getting towards the end of that time, I haven't finished that task, I'm going to give myself a bit more time, but I know I'm over time.
Right.
That really helps me. I get more done in a day because of that.
I'm going to wrap it up. It's been awesome having you on the show, but I want to fire some rapid questions at you.
Yes.
So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, you want one-word answers or just a quick sentence?
Whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Just whatever pops into your mind, you're going to shoot it out.
Got it.
So what's the last book that you read?
Last book I read was Exodus in the Bible.
Okay. Going right back to the beginning. Okay. That was probably also very, very influential, but I was going to take it then with what was the last one that really made an impact then business-wise or developmental-wise?
Perhaps $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy.
Okay, his recent book.
No, that's $100 Million Leads. But his Offers one, I reread that again recently, and there is some great stuff in there.
Okay, that's good to know. Texting or voice message?
Voice message.
Why?
Quicker.
Okay. But I heard that when you receive messages, you prefer to receive texts. Am I right?
Because it's quicker. So if I want to communicate something to someone else, I want to be able to send a voice message, but I would like them to send me back a text message so I can scan it.
Okay. And the last one then. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would that superpower be? I was throwing you on a curveball.
Probably super intelligence. Because if I am super intelligent, I could basically create all other superpowers just through my intelligence to do so.
That's so intelligent.
Isn't it? Thank you very much. I'm on my way.
Oh, Jon, it's been absolutely awesome having you on the podcast. Thank you again for taking the time. If people want to find you and work with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, firstly, it's been a pleasure being here with you as well. Thanks so much for having me. I guess the obvious one is that name behind us, adclients.com. That's where you can find out more about us and what we do. And you can just look up my name, Jon Penberthy, on social media.
Okay. And we'll put everything into the show notes, the cues and any links that we need, also to your YouTube channel so they can go and binge watch you on YouTube. And once again, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lisa.
Congratulations, you've just finished another episode of Impact Through Voice. You're well on your way to making a positive impact in the world with your voice. If you want more, head on over to lisahugo.com/podcast for show notes and all the links that we mentioned in this episode. Until next time.
If you run an online business and you're struggling to get enough clients or get your business to the point that you can grow and scale, and you would like to explore the possibility of working with Jon Penberthy and his team, I can highly recommend it. As you've heard on this podcast, I'm a longtime client of theirs because they've transformed my business and helped me to scale where I was completely stuck before. So jump on a call with them and explore what they can offer you. You've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. You can use the link in the show notes below to go schedule your call. I promise you, you won't regret it.